Folks, welcome back to another episode of Better You. I'm your host, Neeraj Sabarwal, and as you guys folks know, the main theme of my podcast is BTSG, Business Technology, Startups, and Growth. And what I do is I bring CEOs, technical founders of various startups. And today I have CEO of Levo.ai, and his name is Buchi. AI is transforming the business. It harnesses the power of artificial intelligence. It makes it more accessible and actionable to various companies, users, and enterprises. Um, I strongly believe that Buchi and team, they have built an amazing technology where they are integrating into existing workflows and also helping businesses to lock new levels of efficiency and insight. But I'm not going to steal the thunder from Buchi. So, Buchi, again, welcome to my podcast. Welcome to this episode. We are very excited to have you here. I would love to hear your story, how you founded Levo.ai, and at the technology level, where do you guys sit? And what are the different use cases that you guys are seeing? And how do you see AI and Gen AI evolving in next 5 to 10 years? And at the end, if you can share any story from your side, any customer story, that'll be awesome.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, thanks a lot for the opportunity, Neeraj, and I'm super excited to be here. And I'm looking forward to it. It will be fun, and hopefully, it will be useful for the audience as well. So yeah, a bit about myself. Like I come from engineering background, and I've been in the Bay Area for last close to dozen years now. I've worked at several companies like AppDynamics. Spent 5+ years there, and been in the enterprise application space. So this is the fifth enterprise SaaS product that I am building in my career. And application performance monitoring, distributed tracing in last 5+ years in the API security. So that's been my bread and butter subject matter expertise in the last close to 12 years in the Bay Area. But at Levo, basically, we are solving API security as the main problem, and obviously, the APIs have been around for a long time. But what does API security mean? And well, like you said, like what is the innovation, the cutting edge innovation that we brought? What is unique to our solution? I can get into the details, but at a very high level, APIs have been around for a long time, but the API attacks have been more prominent recently. More and more data breaches are happening because through APIs, and that is a key problem that I wanted to solve. And all the technologies that we are using, whether it is EVP or whether it is AI, whether it is some form of ML, all of that is a means of making that happen. But the core problem is like we want to help enterprises to secure their applications and APIs.
Yeah, and I think so I come from a very strong data and AI background, and every time talk to my customers, and only one word they use all the time: is it possible to access this data, this tool, or this platform through API? I strongly believe that API is a backbone of a technical lingo where if you can expose APIs of your platform, your solution, or anything that you're building, the consumer side, the other tools, other platforms, they can start consuming that data, that fields, and so on. So that's why I strongly believe that you guys are in a game changing area of this whole technology world. So Buchi, again, a little bit more context. Give me more context about how did you come up with this idea that, okay, you know what, we actually gonna put security in at the API level and then make AI more accessible to the users.
Yeah, so this came from my experience actually. Like when I was at AppDynamics, Cisco acquired AppDynamics, as a lot of people might know, and I was on the engineering side. And when Cisco acquires, obviously you are now a Cisco company, and Cisco's security is like almost gold standard, right? They are a global company, and they have high revenues. They are selling in very area in Europe and all these regions where the governance and GDPR and all of that is even much more stringent. The security team came to AppDynamics and started saying, "Hey, you are now Cisco product, and your product better be as secure as other Cisco products." And when they started digging in, I volunteered to be the first team to go under their scrutiny. And I was a bit naive, but I totally enjoyed. I think I don't regret that decision. I was starting to learn that developers actually build APIs mainly with the functionality with in mind, and we deploy it, and we make sure that the functionality, performance, and maybe availability, these are all good for applications, right? But the security angle is completely missing from our thought process and our uh, in a lot of cases, or at least I'm talking about like 5 years ago case. And because of that, there is a lot of gaps, and the basic questions that the security people were asking, they didn't know what we are building in the first place. So the visibility was completely lacking, at least for them. Developers are a different breed, right? Like if I have any questions about API, I dive in and I open the code and read it. But obviously, security people cannot do it, and their responsibility is for entire organization. So I witnessed firsthand that they don't have visibility, and nobody understands how many APIs are there, what kind of data that these are sharing, and to whom they are sharing, and all these problems. And like after that, I was looking at the entire API security market. So we were not the first one to do API security problem, to be very clear, but we were the first one to do it uniquely in a proper DevSecOps or shift left approach for the runtime API security. And when I looked around, I'm like, okay, this sounds like a very common problem, and people should be solving it already. Looked around, I felt that the other vendors are not addressing the root cause. There are reactive solutions, not proactive ones. So that's the sweet spot that I found a huge gap. And it turns out automating API security testing, doing it very early in the SDLC is not a easy problem. And thanks to my AppDynamics background, some of that instrumentation and all that came into picture. So me and my co-founder, we came up with a very unique approach where, okay, we can leverage some of these hard problems that we solved in the past, the technology from that, and solve this new problem, which is completely white space. So that's how we landed on this.
Very nice. So basically, what you're saying that if I follow the as part of the STLC, as part of the organizational technical stack of any enterprise solution, so you have source, you have target. As source, people are coming into the application. Let's say it's Facebook.com or Amazon.com. For these people are as a consumer, these people are coming in. They're trying to land on what on a tool or application, and then they're trying to let's say buy a product or sell a product or do some transactions. And behind the scene, of course, the data platform is there, data platform doing its magic. But at the front end, you guys are doing your magic as part of implementing that security, where when this whole tech stack is talking to each other as part of communicating across different services, you guys play a key role.
Yes. So let's get even more concrete, right? You go to
Yeah.
Amazon, you might add few items to the cart, and then you hit the checkout button. You fill in the address if it is not already there, and then hit the checkout button, or add the payment if it is first time, and then get the full payment done. And if you see this entire transaction, there could be like hundreds of API calls just from this one workflow, even maybe yeah, at least hundreds in some cases. And then each call that's going to the Amazon's backend, it could internally be calling several other microservices. So if I were to draw a graph for it, like just that one checkout transaction that a one user is doing, it's touching several services and dozens of APIs, and all of that. How do you make sure, for example, you added an address? Now how do you make sure that that address can only be seen by you, no other user on Amazon, or no other
Yeah.
hacker, no other unauthorized party? Similarly, you added a credit card. How do you make sure that information is not leaked to anybody else? So this ultimately it boils down to data, because data is what everybody is trying to protect, but the data is completely served by these APIs which are sitting on top. And it's like you said, we play a critical role in that entire thing. And our goal is to help Amazon to make sure none of their users data, none of their users payment, or none of their users even delivery stuffs are not delivered to wrong address, payment details are not stolen, address is not stolen, and stuff like that. Well, I mean, Amazon is not our customer, but I'm just taking that as an example. But
I was about to ask. um, okay, so
they can be one of the they can be a best customer, because I would not be surprised if they have the highest number of APIs on earth.
yeah, that's true. And you know what? Let's say if Amazon becomes your customer through this episode, I can also reach out to you and help you out with the whole end-to-end sales cycle. Um, so jokes apart, it's very clear. So let me just summarize the first segment of this episode. As a product, you guys are providing API observability, API analysis, and whole inspection of your API. And as part of the observability inspection, you guys are providing API security. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's one more part to it. We actually go and automatically do offensive testing. That's like the third aspect. So this is how we describe our product. We go, we discover APIs. Actually, that's a very important. The API visibility, if you break it down, it has
Mm,
several subcomponents. We discover APIs, and I can tell you why it is super important. Like I said earlier, people don't know how many APIs they have. Forget about
yes.
knowing more details about it. They don't know how many they have in the first place. So we go start with the discovery and we continuously document them. We continuously do the risk analysis, passive inspection, and then the second part of the product, or second big module in the product is continuous testing. It's like penetration testing. You can say pen testing automated, or some people there is a analogy wise it's like similar to dashed product, dynamic application security testing product, but for APIs. We automate
Very
all of
nice.
this, and until we came in there was no automation for it because automating API security testing is one of the hardest problems, and I can get into technical details on why. That is also included in the platform. So end to end, we come in, we discover, document, show the risk, and then we also test to find all the vulnerabilities before your app even goes into production.
Very nice. So let me understand this. So you're saying that, let's say I'm part of a very big organization. I have 10 different business units. Each unit serves their own shadow IT. Shadow ITs are building their own solutions. They are building their own APIs. Now, let's say I am the president of this engineering org. And now I want to secure all those 10 different business units. It's going to be a nightmare for me and my team to figure out what are the different APIs are there built by these hundreds of engineers. So you're saying that you guys can come in, observe, start identifying those APIs, and then start securing those APIs.
Yes,
Brilliant. Would you say that there is a huge, as part of the business value of your tool, your platform, there's a huge efficiency, productivity gain?
absolutely. In fact, something that we didn't initially think, but we started noticing is more and more developers from our customers' teams. Even though we are not selling to developers initially.
Mm.
Even if we didn't sell to developers in that company, we sold to security team. But then we started seeing developers logging in and starting to use the tool. That's because of the productivity reasons. One of the things that we do when we discover the APIs is we automatically document the APIs. Like we build open API specs, like it's a standard for
Yeah.
writing specs for APIs. We automatically generate open API for all the APIs that they have, and we stand up a API portal. So that means now going back to you, the analogy that you are given, you are the president of that company, and maybe there are like 200 engineers in that org. Those 200 engineers, if they have any questions about any of these APIs, if they are even integrating with the neighboring team's API, they can anytime just open our portal, and every API is documented and the documentation is kept up to date, even if the APIs are changing. That's huge productivity unlock. I will actually quote Brian Armstrong of Coinbase. It's a public blog he has written once, and there is a specific section in his email to the entire company. APIs, not meetings, very clearly. I mean, Jeff Bezos long time ago. Basically, this is a cornerstone of some of the AWS development and all this. Back then, the same synergy. I think he called it as interfaces, but ultimately they are same. Essentially, what people, even these very smart leaders are saying is, if first build reusable APIs, that's what Bezos said. Then, and what Brian Armstrong said is like, don't have meetings, like have API portals documentation ready so that anybody can just look it up and integrate in minutes rather than having a 2 hour meeting to understand what is your API doing, what is my API doing. All of that we unlock it. This was a very pleasant surprise as a side benefit. It came out as part of what we are doing. Initially, we were thinking only security people will consume, but now it is actually we have now new use cases that we are starting to open up for QE people, quality engineering, things like which APIs are going to production without even getting functional tested. And we have, because of the way that our tool works, we are able to unlock and give them the entire list. Look, here are the dozen APIs that went to production, never tested in staging environment.
Very nice. Wow. Um, all right. So we talked about your product offering. We talked about what Levo is. I want to actually get into a different segment now. So you were with AppDynamics as one of the founding engineers. and Cisco bought. It was a very dramatic story because we as part of the Bay Area, Silicon Valley, we witnessed that drama. You guys were supposed to go IPO next day, and I believe Cisco came in the night and they said, "Don't go IPO. We're going to buy you guys out." If I'm not wrong,
Yeah,
that's the story we heard. And Jyoti did an amazing job. I believe sold the company for 4.3 billion. If I'm not wrong, to Cisco.
yeah, it was 3.7, but yeah, the story is right. Like, in fact, our team has flown to Nasdaq. They were there. Like, it's like I even have some funny stories where some of the engineering people who, engineering people don't wear suits often, and he bought, a very amazing, excellent, costly suit for the first time, because obviously he better be in a suit when he is ringing the bell in Nasdaq, and and we keep joking
Oh
that he
my,
never got a chance to wear that suit. So yes, but it was the story is right.
that's amazing. So you guys were in New York. You guys were about to ring the bell, and then Cisco bought the company.
Yeah, so I think the deal happened like just past midnight or something. But the
Yeah,
people
yeah, I
obviously
remember.
they were already there because they had to ring the bell the next day morning. So yeah, it was an amazing ride. I think
Yeah,
I learned a great deal at AppDynamics, and like
yeah,
changed my life forever.
of course. So I think that the reason I asked that question because now you founded this company. Looks like you guys are doing great and building a good product. Uh, Now, as part of the startup story, I would love if you can spend, 5 minutes, 10 minutes to just talk about how is it launching a company, building it from ground up, hiring people, bringing the talent, and so on. How crazy is it?
I think all people who are much smarter than me have already answered this question in a much better way. I think as Elon Musk was saying, it's like doing startups is like chewing glass or staring into abyss or something like that. It is very hard, but it is also if you have passion for it, if you are crazy enough for it, it is also going to be there is nothing like it. The satisfaction that we get from it, the learnings, and the way it challenges every day when you wake up. If you're up for the challenges, there's nothing that matches this. I must say personally, I've been enjoying a lot, and frankly, I'll admit it. I have been challenged so much, and I have even failed in this job for the first time that I have never did in the past. It's like I'm a very pretty good engineer. I've been very good at my studies. Like never had any of these problems where I felt like I'm doing below line. But for the first time, I think at least in some areas, I was realizing that I'm below line, and then I had to like step up and come above the line. I love that part personally because I because I want to grow. It was amazing. There is like, of course, there is a lot of tactical things. There is like challenges we can dive into how is sales, how is engineering, how is product, all those things, but that's the summary of it. It's very
Got it.
difficult, but I have been enjoying it personally.
Yeah. I I remember NVIDIA CEO Jensen, right? He mentioned, he said, if he goes back to his 30 years of his life, he would not have started NVIDIA because, as you just said it, you have to be passionate. I was listening to Jeff Bezos. He said the same thing that you can launch a startup, you can launch a website, you can launch a startup, you can start something, but if you're not passionate about it, you will quit it,
Yeah,
right? So you have to have the passion, and passion, it cannot be money, it has to be solving a problem, right? Money will follow automatically.
right.
Yeah, yeah, very nice. Yeah,
Yeah, if it's completely money driven, you're not going to survive for long. And starting
yeah.
is the easier part. Actually, I know a lot of people struggle to start or think that starting is difficult. Yes, it is difficult, but getting going is actually a lot more difficult than starting. So
Getting going, you're absolutely correct. Getting going, hiring, firing, well, attracting the talent, manage and keeping them happy, retention, churn, and all this crazy stuff.
yeah,
Cool. So I noticed, so the reason I was talking about Amazon.com and other retailers, um, I noticed that you guys have a very interesting brand which is listed on your website, Jewelry, right?
yeah.
Yeah, they are in the retail jewelry area. So as part
No,
of
no,
this,
no. I think maybe there's multiple names with that company, but this Luri is in the SaaS management. So they
So okay,
the SaaS apps management. Basically, they help. Hopefully, I'm describing them right. I'm talking about them. But they are in the SaaS applications management. So if you have if you have 100 SaaS applications, basically they will be the single pane of glass into that. They will help you with the license cost optimization, permissions, and all these things. So they are there to help you with your SaaS apps.
that's actually a brilliant use case, and I
Yes.
think that highlights the value that you guys bring at the large scale. So I'm switching gears. So I'm going from your personal story of the startup to now the use case story, the customer stories. The question I have for you, as part of the implementing, I know you guys are. I believe you guys are still seed round, right?
Yes.
Marching towards Series A,
Yes.
and uh, based on my experience, Series A to Series B is all about product market fit. From seed to Series A, you build the product, you acquire more customers, and so on. So, Buchi, as you roll out for this particular customer, as you rolled out your platform, without going into too much details, um, how did you scale up? How did you win the confidence? And how are you addressing different operational and technical challenges as part of getting this customer to production?
Yeah. So usually, yeah, I think there are technical challenges, there are operational challenges. So first, technical challenges, like I think enterprise products, one of the downsides is basically every enterprise environment is a little snowflake in itself. The kind of integrations that they need, how they are running their applications, and all these things. And we are in the instrumentation business, which is next level, right? Because how you run your applications at X might be totally different from how somebody else runs applications at Y. So the technical challenges that we had was about how do we support these different environments, different operating systems, different versions, and but being engineers, actually that's relatively easy for us. So there, the what unlocked a lot of value for us is eBPF, extended Berkeley packet filtering. I think it's pretty hard. The last 5-6 years, it's been under discussions because it's almost magical the way eBPF works and what kind of use cases it unlocks. So we bet on that, and that has helped a lot for us to scale very well with our customers technically. So yeah, I want to make sure I don't digress too much from the original question. We can talk more
Yeah.
about eBPF if you want, but that is one. So visibility wise, basically one command, literally in minutes, we start giving visibility into customers'
Very
APIs, like
nice.
literally in minutes. And then we also document all these things in real time. So we have seen cases where some of our large customers, they install the product today and tomorrow they wake up, they have 15,000 API endpoints that we discovered and documented. Just think about it. I mean, go back, put yourself in the shoes of the president that you said of several BUs, and
Yeah.
yesterday you didn't know how many APIs you have, and today you are sitting in front of a portal with 15,000 APIs documented. Uh,
That's crazy. I mean, again, I'm a huge fan of developer productivity because the operation, if you somehow, as a product, as a company, you can showcase the leaders, business leaders in any organization that, hey, my tool, my platform can improve the developer productivity by reducing the operational cost. That is a no-brainer for any company to buy that tool. That is just my personal take because that's how I have done. So, like, I'm being very successful in selling the vision and the idea to the various leaders that there are so many and another debate is always do it yourself versus buying a product. I think I may ask you that question very soon, but I just want to conclude this thought. If leaders who are listening to this conversation, they should challenge that, shall I just build something like Levo, or shall I just buy something like Levo and just be productive on day one, right? And I think, Buchi, that actually brings up the question: who are your main competitors in this space?
yeah, so there are multiple companies. Salt Security has been around for a long time. No Name Security, which recently got acquired by Akamai for $450 million. We actually run into No Name a lot in the market. uh, Pretty much a lot, because they have done an amazing job putting themselves out, and they, you name it, everybody knows about No Name. And we actually won multiple deals against them. So that, that's good. Like, we're a very much smaller company than them, but I think with product differentiation, we were able to win few logos in a direct competition. And then there is traceable sequence security, so multiple companies.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh, do you guys ever encounter like cloud native API securities? Like GCP looks like they have something their own. Or do you ever encounter where people come in, they say, "Oh, your product is great, but I think we're gonna build something our own."
Yeah, great question. So two questions, right? Cloud native, not much. So Google has they bought RPG. They have API gateway basically, but API
Yeah.
gateway is not a complete replacement for our solution. Although some people could argue that okay, if I'm using API gateway everywhere, if I'm trying to configure it for API security properly, do I even need API security solution? Yes, you absolutely need it. I'm happy to answer all the technical questions on why you need it, because we have several occasions where data breaches happened even though there was an API gateway. That's a clear proof that it's not going to solve all your API security problems. But we do come across RPG and the Google's product, and sometimes, but otherwise no. Cloud native, there is no equivalent product. And second part, what was the second part of your question?
Do do it yourself. Can I just build
Yeah,
my
do
own?
it yourself. I think I've come across two companies so far. I probably
Nice.
spoke to close to 400, 500 companies in my journey of last 3 years. Only two. It's uh, it's
That's amazing.
it's very very rare, because it's on the cybersecurity side, and cybersecurity side, cybersecurity is like a defense in depth game, and there at any
Yeah.
point you are talking about 15 to 20 tools, because it's like there is network, there is server, there is application, there is endpoint, like you name it, right? Because of that, obviously they cannot build all those solutions. However, we have come across a few companies where they had this very strong security engineering culture. Like the security engineering team had like proper engineers who are very familiar with building the products, and some of them were like very curious about eBPF and some of it, so they were tinkering with it. So I came across two or three companies max. Fortunately, that's not the build versus buy that you said, right? Fortunately, to
Yeah.
large extent, that is not a problem, because a lot of security leaders understand that this needs a lot of money and people, which it may not be a best investment for them, so they better buy from vendors like us.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are definitely in a very hot spot, and especially, as the AI piece is picking up so much momentum, and people are still in POC as they're going to march towards MVP pilot and production. The tools like you folks will be needed at the very large scale.
Yeah,
And I think indirectly you said it very correctly that there's a path for you guys either get acquired, I'm not saying anything, or go IPO in next several years or few years. Because the one of your competitors, you just said it, that got acquired for 450 million, correct?
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, the vision is very clear, but where are you guys heading? That's amazing. Um, as part of your own experience, as part of the App Dynamic, as part of doing this company, as part of building ground up the whole organization, anything that you want to share with my audience, any advice, anything that from your side?
Um, well, I mean, where do we start? Like, it's such a broad and open-ended question, but I can tell what helped me. I think usually I get asked these questions, like because you said some of your audience are like engineers and technical. One, I would very strongly recommend technical or engineers who want to pursue entrepreneurial path. If possible, go and join companies in the very early stage. I think Neeraj, you said you are very familiar with it, and obviously you're a living proof that the transformation that you went through and all of this, well, a big part of it probably could have been the learnings from those early companies. I it changed my life. So I was like employee number one at Neptune. I was also very early employee in AppDynamics and Traceable. So everywhere I learned a lot. I learned so much that has changed my journey and trajectory. So that's one thing. If you want to pursue, it's definitely a great idea to go join early stage startups, support them, learn, and that's the only place where you get to learn so much, because you wear several hats, or you're forced to wear several hats. The That's to the engineers, but in general, I think I already said it. It is very difficult to start, and it is even more difficult to get going, but there is nothing else more rewarding than journeys like this. So don't delay if you want to start a company. Like,
Love
there
it.
will always be reasons, right? But sometimes just jumping in and start trying to swim is a way to learn swimming.
Yeah.
You can think and plan forever, but like it's not going to happen that easily.
Just dive in,
Yeah,
right?
just
Just
dive
dive
in.
in.
Just
Yeah.
dive in.
Yeah. Don't sit on the sideline.
Yeah. You don't sit on the silence because you're not learning.
Exactly. Very well. You said it really nicely that dive in, and the most important thing which you highlighted is passion. Make sure that you are passionate. And I learned this from Mark Zuckerberg a long time ago. He mentioned it. He said, they never started Meta or Facebook with the intention of making money. They just wanted to connect the world. Of course, sounds like a marketing statement, I understand, but they did solve or they did pursue the passion where they have connected the world and they're also making money. So the point is, money will follow, but you have to have a passion to solve a problem.
Yep.
Yeah. Very nice. Yeah, Buchi, I'm so glad, we were able to connect and we talked about we talked about Levo, we talked about your experience. And as a founder, CEO, co-founder, you have brought an amazing experience from all these different companies that you were part of, and would love to stay in touch. I know you moved to Austin. Whenever you come to Bay Area, do let me know. We should hang out.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks a lot for this opportunity. And if people have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer, especially how the journey from engineer to founder and engineer to CEO, and the journey of fundraising, journey of like getting initial customers, like several topics that I have learned last 3 years is probably the most highest the density of learning for me. So there's so much that I'm happy to share with people. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn.
Awesome. So, Buchi, what I will do is I will share your LinkedIn information into my description of the podcast. Anything else you want to share with the audience?
Well, again, another open-ended question. Sorry, but yeah, feel free to hit me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to
Perfect.
answer any questions. If you are going through a journey like this, happy to share my experiences, happy to connect to the people. But like I said, if specifically addressing to people who are entrepreneurs, don't sit on the sidelines because you're not learning, and jump in.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Buchi, congratulations on launching your startup. This is amazing. I will be watching it very carefully at any point. If you need anything from me, from in my network, happy to connect you with people.
yep, totally. Thank you
Yes.
very much. I really appreciate it, Neeraj.
Thank you, Buchi.
Yeah,
All right.
great chatting.